Margaret's orchard was the last thing her husband left behind. Every tree had been planted with love and sacrifice. For 40 years, she protected this land alone. She never imagined strangers would try to erase it overnight. That morning, expensive SUVs rolled onto her property without warning. The men introduced themselves as HOA developers. They offered her money to leave immediately. Margaret refused without hesitation. The developer's smile slowly disappeared after hearing no. He warned Margaret that the orchard would soon disappear anyway. His workers laughed while standing beside massive bulldozers. Margaret realized this was far from over. Before sunrise 2 days later, the machines arrived. Workers bulldozed hundreds of apple trees without permission. Margaret could only watch as decades of memories were destroyed. The sound of snapping trees echoed across the valley. Margaret fell to her knees beside the ruined orchard. The land looked like a battlefield after the machines left. She believed nobody powerful would ever stand beside her, but the town had already started fighting back. Videos of the destruction spread online within hours. Millions watched the elderly widow crying beside broken trees. People across America demanded justice immediately. The HOA company suddenly faced national outrage. A local attorney volunteered to help Margaret for free. After reviewing property records, he discovered shocking violations. The developers never legally owned the land, and protected farmland laws had been ignored completely. The legal team collected evidence for weeks. Drone footage exposed the full scale of the destruction. Former workers admitted they were ordered to ignore warning signs. The lawsuit quickly became impossible to hide. On the first day of court, reporters filled the streets outside. Margaret arrived wearing the same jacket she worked in every day. The developers expected an easy victory. Instead, they walked into a disaster of their own making. The courtroom fell silent when the drone footage started playing. Jurors watched bulldozers destroy the orchard in real time. Even the judge looked disturbed by the destruction. The HOA executives suddenly stopped smiling. One former worker finally broke under pressure. He admitted the company ordered crews to destroy the orchard before permits were approved. The courtroom gasped after hearing the confession. The developers knew the case was slipping away. Margaret revealed a letter written by her late husband years earlier. He begged her to protect the orchard no matter what happened. Many people inside the courtroom became emotional. Even reporters lowered their cameras for a moment. By the second week of trial, the story exploded nationwide. News stations called Margaret America's strongest grandmother. Millions demanded justice against the HOA company. Public pressure grew stronger every single day. Investors began abandoning the development company overnight. The scandal destroyed public trust completely. Several business partners canceled contracts immediately. The company started losing millions every day. The judge criticized the company for showing reckless disregard for the law. He questioned why destruction began before ownership was finalized. The executives struggled to answer simple questions. Their confidence completely disappeared. Then came the evidence that changed everything. Internal emails showed executives discussing how to pressure Margaret into leaving. One message even joked about flattening the orchard quickly. The courtroom erupted in outrage. Outside the courthouse, the community stood beside Margaret every day. Farmers brought food and flowers to support her. People she had never met offered donations and help. For the first time in months, she felt hope again as the trial continued. Employees quietly left the company. The once powerful HOA corporation began collapsing from inside. Executives blamed each other for the disaster. But it was already too late to escape responsibility. Margaret's attorney delivered one final emotional statement to the jury. He reminded them this case was never just about trees. It was about power, greed, and protecting ordinary people. The courtroom sat in complete silence afterward. After weeks of testimony, the courtroom waited for the final verdict. Margaret sat silently beside her attorney, barely able to breathe. The HOA executives avoided eye contact with the jury. Everyone knew this decision would change lives forever. The jury found the developers guilty on every major charge. The courtroom exploded with shock reactions immediately. Margaret covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. The executives looked completely frozen in disbelief. Then the judge announced a financial punishment. The company was ordered to pay millions in damages and restoration costs. Several executives faced additional investigations afterward. The same greed that destroyed the orchard destroyed their empire, too. As Margaret walked outside, the crowd erupted into applause. Strangers thanked her for standing up against powerful people. Reporters rushed forward asking for interviews. But Margaret only smiled quietly through her tears. The once confident developer became the face of corporate greed overnight. News stations replayed his threats again and again. His company's reputation collapsed beyond repair. The man who tried to destroy the orchard lost everything himself. Weeks later, volunteers arrived from across the state to help Margaret rebuild. Families planted brand new apple trees beside her. The destroyed land slowly came back to life again. Hope finally replaced heartbreak. Spring brought life back to the orchard once more. Fresh green leaves covered the new trees across the field. Margaret walked through the rows every morning with pride. Her husband's dream was alive again. Soon, national television networks invited Margaret to share her story. Millions listened as she spoke about courage and resilience. She reminded people never to surrender to intimidation. Her story inspired families across America. Meanwhile, the luxury HOA projects had completely abandoned. Construction stopped permanently after the lawsuit. Nature slowly reclaimed the empty land around the site. The company's greed had built absolutely nothing. One evening, Margaret walked alone through the orchard at sunset. The wind moved softly through the young apple trees around her. She realized nobody could erase the life she built with love. And this time, justice had finally taken root.